Hi yogis, you made it through. We are on day 5 of Namaste Calm. So whether or not you did all 5 classes or this is the first one you're trying, it doesn't matter as long as you got some yoga in, whether it was here in studio, help you stay centered and ready to go for the rest of your holiday season. But I'm glad you're here, and today we are going to recharge, reset, and rest, actually. So those things are not mutually exclusive. You can rest and recharge at the same time. You can rejuvenate and rest. So all of those things kind of go together, and we're going to put it all together in one flow here as we do we're going to start out with a nice flow, super basic shapes, just kind of get the heart rate going and rejuvenate you a little bit, energize you, and then we are going to break out the bolster. I will pull mine out as we get closer to that second half. So if you don't have a bolster, it's okay. You don't necessarily need one. You could use if you have a pillow that will kind of support you, or if you have, a blanket, you can roll that up. Whatever works for you, whatever you have handy. And if you don't have a prop, you can still make it work. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to begin standing, as all good flows do. So come on up to the beginning of your mat, whatever that looks like for you. Bring your feet underneath your hips, and let's go ahead and stack the body from the feet down. So the feet are underneath the hips. You can rock back and forth on the ball of the foot to the heel of the foot. Just getting into a flow of things. And let's go ahead and build from the ground up. So find a little bit of a softness in the knees. Pull the hips a little bit forward, but keep them underneath your shoulders and in between the shoulders and the ankles, right? You don't want to be rocking too far forward or back. And tuck the tailbone down slightly. Pull belly button in towards spine. So that may be a challenge. If you ate a little bit extra this week, you might not really feel like pulling belly button anywhere. Go ahead and do your best here. And let's go ahead and stack shoulders over hips. Reach arms all the way up on the inhale and look up towards the hands, press palms together. We're going to exhale and fold. So bending the knees as you fold down, just melt over the legs. Head is super heavy here. You can shake your head yes and no. Let's find a half lift on the inhale. So fingertips just float onto the mat. You're finding a nice flat back. Here you are engaging through the core, and you're going to put a little slight bend in the knees to help you out. Put the hands down on the mat and step back with your right foot into a very low lunge. So we're keeping the knee right over the ankle, pressing the right foot behind you as if you're pulling your feet away from each other and then towards the midline. Let's find some lightness in the fingers. Let's find a little bit more lightness in the fingers as we bring the hands to heart center, kind of hovering over that thigh. And then let's reach those shoulders up towards the sky as we look up. Look up. And then exhale, hands come down either side of that front foot. Let's step back into a plank shape. Good. So go ahead and hold this for a moment. If you need to put the knees down, you absolutely can. Stacking shoulders over the hips, just like we did when we were standing. You want to build this from the ground up. So you're on the ball of the feet. Heels are somewhat over the toes. Wrists are underneath the elbows, which are underneath the shoulders. And then put a little micro bend in the elbows. Let's go ahead and lightly tap the knees down to the mat, and then lower in between the arms, all the way down to the mat, elbows scrape by the sides. Let's find a cobra here. Hands are still underneath the shoulders. Lift the upper body off the mat. You control how deep you take this back bend here. And then let's find our way up and back, curl the toes under, downward facing dog. So pushing away from the hands, maybe bending the knees because it's their first one. And then look up towards the hands, as many steps as you need. Both feet behind the wrists, melt over the legs, and then reach the arms nice and wide as you lift. Coming all the way up, hands to heart center. First round, halfway through, first side. Not bad. Let's keep going. Inhale, reach all the way up, and then let's fold. Same thing, let's find that half lift, step back with your left leg this time. Keep that lunge low to the ground while you root into your mat here. So maybe energetically pulling heel towards toe, float the fingers off the mat. Beautiful. Maybe you lift hands to heart underneath, or just hovering over the thigh, and then reach the arms all the way up, crescent warrior. So from here, we're going to move on. Bring your hands to heart center. You're going to lift up out of this crescent warrior, plant the left foot down, and heel toe the right foot in towards kind of the middle of the mat. Find your way to a warrior two. Look out over the right hand. Relax your shoulders. Sink low. Reverse the palm, straighten the right leg, and let's find a reverse triangle shape here. Nice. And then we're going to exhale back into warrior two. Relax your shoulders. Straighten the front leg, hinge from the hips, and let's bring the right hand down inside, outside, or on top of the shin. It's entirely up to you. I might have the space to go all the way to the floor today. Let's find that warrior two. Look out over the right hand. Hands come to heart center. So you're going to turn your toes towards the front of your mat, or the long side of your mat. Nice. Hands are at heart center. You're going to sit back and down over that right leg-ish. So you're taking a nice side lunge here. Beautiful. And then go ahead and reach the arms behind you as you sweep over towards the left side, taking that side lunge to the left. Hands pulled behind you. You're sitting way low and behind yourself. Inhale, hands come forward into heart center. Exhale, sweep them behind. Inhale all the way forward, back into that side lunge. Exhale, leaning towards the left. Interlace the fingers behind you. Nice. Open up the hip here, and then maybe hinge down over that left leg. So be careful not to hyperextend into this right leg. And then go ahead and release and come back up. Hands come to heart center. You're going to lift up out just enough so that you can turn the left toes towards what it used to be the back of your mat. The right toes are going to angle forward so that the heels go back. Finding your way to warrior two now on the other side of your mat. Same thing, flip the palm, reverse triangle shape. So the left leg straightens. Nice. And then from here, we're just going to exhale, find your way to triangle shape. Left hand might come down, might not. Beautiful. Bend into that left knee, find your way to warrior two. We're going to take that side lunge, same thing we just did. So turn the toes back towards the front of the mat-ish and lean over that left leg, hands to heart center. Lift up, out, sweep arms around behind you as you reach over towards the right hip. Inhale back through center, hands to heart center towards the left. Sweep them behind, towards the right, towards the left. Last time, we're going to sweep over towards the right hip. Left leg is straight, left toes point forward, hands interlace behind you, sit back nice and low, and then maybe fold over and let the head be heavy. Inhale, unravel here. Hands come to heart center, turn right toes forward. Left heel might spin back. Warrior two. Look out over the right hand. Beautiful. And we're going to windmill both hands to the front of the mat, all the way down. Stepping forward, big toes might touch. There might be some space. Melt into a forward fold. Let's go ahead and root to rise. Sweep all the way up. We're going to flow through that a little bit quicker, one time through. So you kind of know where we're going. Inhale, reach all the way up. Inhale, lift. Press palms together. Exhale, fold. We're going to plant the hands, step back with the left foot, coming to your crescent warrior. Reach all the way up. Inhale, lift. Nice. Exhale, find your way to warrior two. So spin the back foot down, heel toe the right foot forward, warrior two. Reverse the palm, straighten the right leg, reverse triangle. Exhale, warrior two, looking out over that right hand. Inhale, straighten the right leg, hinge at the hips, and find triangle shape, your version. Inhale, warrior two, bend the knee, hands come to heart center. Lift up out of it, turn the toes and sink over towards the left hip. Side lunge to the left, sweep the arms around, side lunge to the right. Sweep them to the left, hands come to the front, behind as you sweep to the right. And then this time we're just taking it back to a warrior two, looking towards the back of your mat. Left knee bends, look out over the left hand. Beautiful, flip the palm, reverse triangle, straighten that front leg, which is your left leg. Warrior two. Straighten that left leg, hinge from the hips, fingertips just graze the ground. Nice. Let's find warrior two. We are going to turn this into a crescent at the back of the mat. So you can use your hands if you need to. You're going to spin to the ball of that back foot and reach the arms all the way up. Nice. Palms come together. Hands come all the way down either side of that front foot. Let's step back. Now you're in a plank shape. You can take a vinyasa here, or you can bring the knees down for your vinyasa. It's up to you. I'm just going to slide forward. My toes slide a little bit forward, so my shoulders are past my wrists. Lower halfway down. Scoop up and through for my up dog. And then exhale, downward facing dog. And then knees come down. Sit back and down into a child's pose here. And then let's roll all the way back up. So we're going to move into some restorative shapes. So go ahead and get your, we're going to move into some restorative shapes. So go ahead and get your bolster. Beautiful. Okay, so you do not necessarily need your bolster for this first shape that we're going to come into. It's nice to have if you have one. Like I said, you could also use a pillow if that works better for you. There's a supported sphinx pose. So let me show you what it looks like without the bolster. As you recall, our sphinx pose starts from the belly. You're going to stack your elbows right underneath your shoulders. Your palms come down on the mat. And then you're going to lift, like you're pulling the elbows back towards your feet. You're going to lift the upper body almost through the gateway of the shoulders. It's a deep back bend. So you can take this shape right here and use this as your restorative shape. That's perfectly fine. But for the sake of rejuvenating today, I'm going to take it over my bolster. So same thing, you just set up a little bit differently. The back bend actually is enhanced by the bolster. The elbows are going to squish right into the bolster, palms come down, and it's a little bit less intense because you don't have to prop yourself necessarily on the floor here. You can just kind of melt into the bolster. Chin comes in towards the chest, and it's a much more gentle back bend. So for me, my hips don't come quite all the way to the ground just because my body shape doesn't allow for it here. If you have a smaller bolster, you might come all the way to the ground with the hips. That might be fine. If you're floating kind of in between, that's okay too. Just let the head drop down. Relax your shoulders here. And starting with your feet, systematically relax all the body parts. So your toes are just there. You're not clenching through your legs anywhere. Soften through the butt cheek. Head is heavy. Let's take one more breath here. Start to lift the head And we're going to walk ourselves out of this. So coming out of it is it takes a little bit of maneuvering, right? So you're just going to use your hands on the bolster and push yourself up and back. Don't go too far. You can leave the bolster right where it is. We're going to come to it's called a pretzel in bar. It's called a Z-sit sometimes, or deer shape. So your right shin is going to come parallel with the long side of your mat. Your knee comes right up to the bolster. Your thigh is maybe not quite snug against it, but pretty close. And then your left leg just bends behind you. So your shin is parallel with the left short edge of your mat. So flexing through both feet to keep your knees safe, you're just going to turn so that your body is kind of aiming towards the bolster. Keep the right hip rooted down, and then just melt over the bolster. Maybe bring the side of the face down. If you want to adjust where the bolster is, you can put it at an angle if you kind of know where you're going, and just keep the head there. I like to turn my head so that I'm looking towards my left shoulder here because it opens up the neck and feels really good. You can also play around with looking towards the right shoulder. Your left hip comes up off the mat, and that's okay. It's a very gentle twist. Backing out of this shape, using your hands to help you, just coming up off the bolster here. And then we're just going to let the legs go long down the mat. You're going to stack your legs and roll the ribs. So your hip is at the bottom of the bolster. You're just going to roll over the mat. Let the right arm be long. The left arm can stay in front of you and brace you there, or if it feels good, you might reach your left arm over the head, interlace your fingers, and let the arms stretch forward. The head kind of comes down in between the arms, might rest on the right arm. And then the same thing, using your hands to help you. You're just going to push up. We're going to continue our travels, so you're going to get to see the back of me here. And we are going to just turn towards the back of the mat. So your right leg bends behind you, finding this pretzel, deer sit, whatever you want to call it. And then we're going to turn the left shoulder so that you're looking towards the bolster. And melt down over the bolster. Once you find your shape, you can be very relaxed here. And then from here, finding that nice opening of the ribs on the left or on the right side. So your left ribs are going to come to the bolster, stretching down over, reaching the left arm down your mat, down the floor, reaching overhead with the right hand, stretching the legs long down the mat. I'm trying to stack hips over hips, shoulders over shoulders. Head is heavy on the bottom arm, pulling through that top arm. And then let's go ahead and come out of that shape using your hands to help you. And we're going to end in a supported child's pose today. So we're going to bring the knees nice and wide. The bolster comes down in between the thighs, about halfway, so you don't want to pull it too far. And if you are longer through the torso than I am, your bolster is actually going to be further down the mat than mine. And then from here, you're just going to melt over the bolster, sink hips to heels, maybe interlacing your fingers to keep them from sliding off the mat. And then melting into the shape. You can turn your head whichever way works for you. You are welcome to stay in this shape, rolling over the bolster in your child's pose for as long as you like. If you have a few extra minutes and wanted to lay down on top of the bolster for a nice Shavasana shape to finish out for a minute or two, that's always a delightful way to end. But really, just that little combination probably has you feeling a little bit more present in your body and ready to go on, because now we are back to our busy lives after this, and I hope you enjoyed this series. You have it to revisit over and over again as long as you like. Thanks for joining me on the mat for this long holiday weekend, and I hope I see you again. Namaste.